There's a place on a mature woman's body that no man dares to touch, not because he doesn't know where it is, but because he's afraid to. It's not a place that smells like perfume or shines with lingerie. But once you touch it the right way, she'll never think the same again. Not about you, and not about her husband. Most men spend their lives caressing what's visible, what's obvious, but they ignore the spot that ignites not just her skin, but her subconscious, the one that awakens her hidden desire, and her guilt too. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 places where a middle-aged woman still longs to be touched. Some of them might make you uncomfortable, but the last one could change forever the way she looks at you after you've been in bed together. I'm Celia, and if you've ever felt like she's physically there, but emotionally distant, this video isn't optional, it's urgent. Because a man who doesn't know how to touch is a man who doesn't know how to lead. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, yet she still looked at you with a mix of indifference and exhaustion, like you touched her, talked to her, gave her the best of yourself, and still, something in her seemed absent, like she wasn't really there anymore? Then you need to hear this. Because the first place a mature woman wants to be touched isn't her neck or her back. It's something much more symbolic, much more revealing. It's her pride as a woman, her forgotten worth, that invisible space that withers when her partner takes her for granted, and lights up when someone else looks at her with fresh hunger. This first point isn't about skin, it's about presence, about what you stopped doing because you thought it no longer mattered, about what someone else starts doing, right when you become invisible. And no, I'm not talking about empty compliments or flowers once a month. I'm talking about looking at her with intention, speaking to her with fire, touching her with pause, not to turn her on, but to remind her that she's still alive. Because what middle-aged women want most isn't a younger body. It's a man who makes them feel desired, relentlessly, spontaneously, without guilt. I'm telling you this as a therapist. Many women don't leave their homes for a lover. They leave because they stopped feeling seen, because the man next to them stopped touching them as a woman and started treating them like part of the emotional furniture. And when that happens, that symbolic place, her identity as a desired woman, goes dark. And that's when someone else shows up, with rougher words maybe, but with energy, with hunger, with drive, and what you hadn't touched in years. He awakens in 2 nights. Picture it. She's in the kitchen, wearing the same old apron, her face tired, her body no longer offering itself. And you, walking past her like nothing's changed. But in her mind, that woman is screaming, not from anger, from suffocated desire, from the need to feel looked at like she was at 30, not out of nostalgia, out of feminine dignity. And if you don't understand that this invisible place is touched through gestures, through tension, through awakened masculinity, you'll lose her. Not because she wants to leave, but because she needs to remember that she can still be chosen. This first point, that place you can't see, but that defines everything, is the beginning of surrender or rebirth. If you ignore it, she'll find someone who won't. Not because she's unfaithful, but because she needs to feel alive before routine buries her. Because deep down, every middle-aged woman doesn't want another body. She wants hers to be summoned again like when she still believed in the magic of desire. And you, if you don't do it, if you don't awaken it, if you don't affirm it, you lose. Because being there is not enough. You have to know how to touch. And I'm not talking about her skin. I'm talking about her soul, her reflection. That part of her she stopped looking at until you call it back with your energy. If the first place she longs to be touched is symbolic, her reflection as a desired woman, then the second isn't far behind. Because when a woman starts to feel invisible, she doesn't fall into sadness right away. First, she splits. She keeps functioning, keeps fulfilling her roles. But inside, she starts to divide. One part stays with you. The other begins to look outward. And that shift reveals itself in a very specific place. We've reached the second key point of this video, the exact spot where her guilt and her desire hide. It's no coincidence that many women, as they approach their 40s or 50s, start talking about rediscovering themselves, about reconnecting with who they are. What they don't say, because most won't even admit it to themselves, is that this rediscovery often includes the fantasy of another man, one who reminds them of what their partner no longer touches. And that inner conflict between guilt and desire doesn't show up in her chest or her waist. It shows up in her lower belly, that emotional center of gravity where fears and fantasies coexist, where motherhood, desire, and power all merge. In depth psychology, the belly isn't just an erogenous zone, it's a symbol, it's the emotional womb. And many women, especially those who've been mothers, feel that's where they lost their fire as desiring women. That space no longer belongs to them. It was given, used, exhausted. And that's why, when a man shows up with real masculine energy, with clear direction, with fire free of guilt, that space responds, but not just with pleasure. It trembles with fear, because that's where her contradiction lives, her longing to feel alive, and her guilt for wanting it outside the routine, outside fidelity, outside what's right. The Stoics spoke of facing reality without illusions, of seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it were. And you, if you truly want to understand a mature woman, need to look at this point with the same clarity. Because if you don't, you'll think she's cold, that she's distant, that she's lost her desire. When in truth, she's redirected it, repressed it, hidden it in that symbolic belly where she stores everything she can't say out loud. And that's where your role comes in, as an awakened man. Not a clumsy seducer, not a sleepy husband, a real man. One who knows that a woman's body isn't won over with flowers or borrowed lines. It's claimed when she feels you can reach that space without judgment, without awkwardness, without fear. When you make her feel that her desire is not a betrayal, but a force that, if channeled, can rebuild a connection that seemed lost. If you don't approach that place with clear intent, firm desire, and an unflinching gaze, someone else will. Not because he's better than you, but because he had the courage to read her unspoken language, because he dared to touch where you only skimmed, because he knew that beneath her silence there's a fire waiting, one that doesn't burn out. It just waits for the man who knows how to deserve it. Everything we've explored so far, the symbolic desire to feel like a woman again, the tension between guilt and fire in her belly, sets the stage for something more tangible, something you can touch, awaken, and use to your advantage. If you stop acting like an obedient man and start moving like an awakened one. We've reached the third point in this video, and this is where everything begins to shift. The place she never touches, but every woman wants someone else to. That place is her hips, not her curves, not her looks. Her hips as a symbol of feminine power, as the center of her rhythm, her movement, her story. And I'm not just talking about the physical. I'm talking about how a mature woman connects with her pleasure, her desire, her freedom. Her hips are what balance her entire intimate world. When she's touched there by a man who knows what he's doing, it doesn't just arouse her, it emotionally unravels her. Because in that loss of control, she also surrenders. But here's a strategy almost no one uses, and one you need to understand. It's not about touching her in obvious ways, or coming on strong like you're after sex. It's about knowing how to build tension, to approach her with slow, unspoken intent, to provoke without touching, to look at her body with hunger but with restraint. When you do that, her hips begin to move differently, not for you, for herself, because a woman who feels seen, truly seen, by a man's gaze, starts responding before he even lays a hand on her. Let me give you an example. Imagine an ordinary gathering, a family dinner, a casual conversation. You're close by. You don't say anything. You don't make a crude move. You're just there, masculine, steady, attentive. And when she shifts her weight, you simply let your eyes slide, slowly and calmly, across her hips. Not like you're sizing her up, like you're recognizing sacred ground. She feels it, not because she sees you, but because her body senses it. And in that moment, without doing a thing, you've already touched her. And she won't forget it. because no other man does that, because her partner touches her without presence. And you bring the fire back with a look that knows exactly what it's capable of unleashing. That's the strategy. Don't go for the obvious. Don't rush. Don't try to seduce her like you're asking for permission. A mature woman isn't moved by impulse. She surrenders when she feels that the man in front of her doesn't beg, he asserts. And you, if you learn to master your energy, if you use your body as a silent language of power, you'll awaken in her something even her boldest lovers never could. The longing to be touched where even she stopped reaching. Before we continue, hit that like button and subscribe if this is stirring something in you. I want you to drop a comment telling me what country you're watching from, and leave a short phrase, "I don't touch her the same anymore." Because what's coming next isn't just important, it's defining. There are still lessons ahead that can break through years of routine. And the last one might make her want you again in a way she can't hide. If in the last point we talked about building tension through your gaze, through stillness, through those hips that no woman touches, but all secretly want awakened, now we're stepping into deeper territory, because it doesn't matter how much desire you stir up if, when it's time to move forward, you end up sabotaging yourself. We've reached the fourth point in this video, where desire turns into emotional surrender. This is the most common mistake men make when trying to reconnect with a mature woman, confusing desire with the need to please. They start off strong. They look at her with intent, provoke her with presence, make her feel wanted. But when she responds, when she lets her guard down, when she shows even a moment of vulnerability, he changes. He softens. He turns sweet. He starts trying to please. And in that gesture, which seems tender, he loses everything. Because what a mature woman wants is not a man who adapts to her emotions. She wants one who can hold space for them without losing his center. Female desire isn't fulfilled through sex alone. It's fulfilled through surrender, but not just any surrender. It has to come from her, not from you. It has to emerge because you led her there, not because you gave in first. And that's where most men fall. In their eagerness to connect emotionally, they become accommodating. They start asking what she feels, what she wants, what she needs. And just like that, without realizing it, they stop leading. They become her emotional support, her shoulder to cry on, her confidant. And the woman, who may have once desired him, now only respects him, like a good friend, but no longer as a man. This mistake is a mental trap because we've been taught to believe that sensitivity is the way. That if a woman opens up emotionally, we should respond with softness. But in practice, that kills the fire. Because fire needs direction. And when you lower your energy to match her confusion, you're not holding her, you're mirroring her. And suddenly, she's left without a reference point, without direction, without a man. The result is brutal. You lose her respect without even knowing why. She starts pulling away, disconnecting, saying things like, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm confused. I need space." And you, thinking you did everything right, wonder where you went wrong. But it wasn't what you did. It was what you stopped being. You stopped being the center, the guide, the one who creates desire not with sweet words, but with steady eyes and firm boundaries. So listen carefully. When a mature woman surrenders emotionally, it's not because you joined her in her sadness. It's because you showed her that her vulnerability doesn't shake you, that you can see her weak and not become weak yourself. That's the real kind of touch she craves, the one that isn't done with your hands, but with presence, with that kind of grounded confidence that makes a woman, no matter how much life she's lived, lower her head for just a second, not out of submission, out of admiration, because she knows she's in front of a man who doesn't bend to emotion, who can hold her without losing himself. Now that you understand real desire isn't sustained by sweetness, but by steady emotional direction, it's time to look at an even more dangerous mistake, one made by married men, by good husbands, by the ones who stayed, even when she had already left emotionally. We've reached the fifth point in this video, the territory her husband forgot, and her lover took full advantage of. This territory isn't physical or sexual, it's energetic. It's the part of her body where she stores the forbidden, the unspoken, the things she wants but doesn't dare to admit. And do you know where that place begins? Her lower back. Right there, where she feels the weight of routine, of the years, of the children. But also the shiver from a hand that doesn't comfort, but claims. That area her husband stopped touching because it's not the right time. There are more important things. He's too tired. And the other man, the one who came without obligations, without excuses, without fear, explores it without hesitation. This is where the silent collapse of respect begins, because while you treat her gently, he makes her tremble without asking. You care for her like a mother. He awakens her like a woman. You talk about work, the kids, the daily grind. He speaks to the desire she thought she'd buried. And in that lower back, the one you only notice when she turns to sleep, she hides her secret, that she still wants to be claimed, that she still wants to be moved, that she still wants to be desired, not with tenderness, but with emotional power, with real masculine energy. If you keep walking the path of not touching, not provoking, only accompanying, then I guarantee you won't just lose her desire. You'll lose her respect, because a woman doesn't long for the man who tiptoes around her. She longs for the one who ignites her without asking permission, and once that happens, there's no turning back. She starts to compare, to justify herself, to tell herself, you're not the same anymore. And no, it's not that you changed. It's that you stopped touching the place where her desire still lived. The only way to turn this around isn't with flowers or movie lines. It's with a presence so firm, so intense, so undeniable, that she feels you're not there as a husband who asks, but as a man who chooses, who knows what he stirs, who understands her body, not as routine, but as a place of power. That can't be faked, or bought, or improvised. It has to be reclaimed, from the mindset of a man who has taken back control of his energy. And that, brother, starts with no longer fearing her body, with remembering that you too can touch her with hunger, with decisiveness, that her back is not decoration, it's an invitation, and if you don't take it, someone else will. Because that place you forgot is the same place another man will claim, and when that happens, you don't just lose a woman, you lose your place as a man, and that hurts more than any betrayal. Because it's not taken from you, you give it away, without noticing, without fighting, without protecting the territory that once was yours. You've understood that losing her respect doesn't always happen through shouting. It happens in silence, in what's left unsaid, in the touch that no longer comes. Now, it's time to go deeper, because there's a place that almost no man knows how to interpret. A place you can't see, can't touch directly, but one that determines whether she surrenders or shuts down completely. We've reached the 6th point in this video, and it's this: beyond the physical, it's direct access to her feminine unconscious. Picture this, a middle-aged woman. Her body doesn't respond like it used to, but her desire is still there, buried beneath it all. Her rational mind tells you she's tired, she's overwhelmed, it's not the right time. But her body, her energy, her unconscious are waiting for something they don't know how to ask for. And that something has nothing to do with gestures or sweet words. It has everything to do with how you look at her when she's not watching, with how you walk toward her without needing approval, with how you make her feel that she can lose control without being judged. This point isn't on the surface. It's in her energetic field. It's her nape, her neck, her breath when you approach from behind. Not to kiss her, to inhale her, to let her feel that you're there, not as a companion, but as a man who can claim without harming. When you do that, you don't just touch her body, you access her unconscious. And once that door opens, there's no going back, because she doesn't control it, she doesn't decide it, she just feels it. But if you don't know how to use that access, if instead of owning your presence, you hesitate, ask, explain, then the door shuts. Not because she doesn't want you, but because her body goes into defense. Because the feminine unconscious, when it doesn't find strength, retreats behind layers of protection. And you, even if you think things are fine, are already out. You're no longer getting in. You're no longer sparking anything. It's hard to hear, but many men live for years with a woman without ever touching her unconscious, without ever stepping into that part of her where she truly surrenders. They live on the surface, they touch the body, they offer affection, but they never disarm her psyche, they never make her tremble from the inside out. And she, even if she stays, even if she says, "I love you," is already gone. Because her energy has moved on. Her desire no longer lives with you. And if you stay stuck in that pattern, what comes next is apathy, long silence, the kind of disconnection that doesn't shout, but slowly kills. You'll still be there, providing, talking, giving her a passing touch on the shoulder, but you won't really be there, because she, the real her, the one who still wants to burn from within, no longer feels that you can awaken her. All that's left is routine. And one day, without warning, she'll tell you she needs to find herself, that she's confused, that she needs space, but that's not true. She already found what she needed. It just wasn't you. So I'll say it clearly. If you don't learn to touch her unconscious, you will never have her fully. You might have her presence, yes, but not her surrender. And a woman who doesn't surrender emotionally never truly gives herself, not in bed, not in life. If in the last point you realize that without access to a woman's unconscious, you'll never have her full surrender, now we arrive at the heart of desire. The one place you can't touch with your hands, or words, or even with caresses. It can only be touched with presence, with steadiness, with emotional direction. And if you don't know how to reach it, she'll find someone who does. We've reached the 7th point in this video, and it's this, the one place that, if you learn to touch it, she won't want anyone else to. That place is her voluntary emotional surrender. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about obedience or forced power. It's about that moment when a woman lowers her defenses, not because you pressured her, but because you held her. Because in your presence, she stops pretending, stops controlling, stops leading. She feels held, desired, understood. And in that moment, if you know how to stand firm as a man, if you don't get thrown off by her intensity, if you don't soften just to please her, she gives herself, not to just anyone, only to the one who knows how to touch that invisible center. Most men never get there. They stay on the surface, on the body, on sex, on the role of good partner. But a mature woman, with a past, with wounds, with fire inside, only surrenders to a man who has nothing to prove, who's just there, not asking, not begging, not explaining himself. And that brother can't be faked. It's trained, it's chosen, it's reclaimed. Maybe you spent years trying to be the good guy, the one who listens, the one who waits, the one who never makes her uncomfortable. And you succeeded. She's not uncomfortable with you. She's bored. And in her mind, another story begins to form. An imagined man who dares, who provokes, who touches her where you no longer can, not with force, with presence. And if you don't take that place, someone else will. Because female desire is like water. If you don't give it direction, it overflows. Everything you've learned until now means nothing if you don't apply it. If you don't embody it. If you don't stand up from the chair routine, sat you in. Because you can know everything about her. But if you don't change the way you touch her, physically and emotionally, then all of it becomes empty theory. What's real, what transforms, begins when you choose to act differently. When you decide to reclaim the place you gave up. Not with complaints, with energy. This last point isn't about her. It's about you. About whether you're ready to become the man she can't walk away from. Because you touched something so deep, so real, so powerful, that no one else could compare. If you don't do it, if you don't decide, there's nothing more to say. Because she won't leave in a storm. She'll leave slowly. Until one day, she looks at you with kindness, but without desire. And you'll realize you didn't lose her for lack of love. You lost her because you never touched the one place only a real man knows how to reach. You've made it to the end of this video, which means you're no longer among the naive. You're one of the few who dared to look truth in the eye. No filters, no excuses, no emotional anesthesia. Because what you saw today isn't entertainment. It's a choice. The choice to wake up or keep pretending everything's fine. And you, who listened to every word, can no longer say you didn't know. Now you know where to touch, how to touch, what energies to awaken, and what mistakes you must never repeat. But knowledge without action is just another form of surrender. I want you to comment below with a simple but powerful phrase, "I'm no longer lukewarm," and tell me which country you're watching from. Because it doesn't matter if you're in the US, the UK, Australia, or anywhere else in the world. When a man wakes up, he does it in any language. And that decision, to stop being lukewarm, might be the turning point your life was waiting for. I'm Celia, woman, psychologist, and this channel wasn't created to entertain or to say what's politically correct. This is your house of wisdom, the place where wounded men stop licking their wounds and start healing from respect, clarity, and authentic desire. Because if you don't lead your energy, your desire, and your story, someone else will. And believe me, it won't be in your favor. Subscribe, not to follow me, but to join this community of men who've stopped making excuses and started rebuilding themselves. Share this video with that friend who's sleepwalking through life next to a woman who no longer touches him, because maybe this, exactly this, is the only thing that might wake him up. And don't leave just yet. The conversation isn't over. 2 videos are about to appear on your screen. Choose the one that makes you most uncomfortable, because right there is exactly what you need to hear next.